This is Tracy with the Oasis for Natural Healing. So, tonight I want to talk to you guys a little bit about emotions, chronic physical conditions, and chronic pain. So, first off, I hope you guys are staying really, really warm because it's really, really cold out and it's pretty darn chilly out in Chicagoland area. So, one of the things that I want to kind of mention today. So, what emotions kind of get overlooked. And a lot of people have been told that their physical symptoms or their chronic condition is all stuck in their head. And sometimes emotions can be contributing factors. And a lot of times, what I find is that emotions are actually related to other underlying issues, such as imbalances in hormonal levels. And you can have normal labs, and it doesn't mean that it's normal for you. Okay, I see this all the time with my patients. A lot of my patients will go to the doctor and they say, I can't sleep. I'm more tired at night, and I have anxiety or I have brain fog or I have depression, or I'm skipping my periods or I have really bad PMS issues. There's got to be something wrong. Right. And then the doctor turns around and does blood work and he comes back and he says that, oh, your blood work is fine. Your blood work is normal. So it's got to just be your anxiety and depression causing all these things. And some people actually will have chronic pain with this, okay, as well. And there's a couple different reasons for that. Did you know that your thyroid hormones can actually lead to, if they're imbalanced, can lead to actually joint pain, discomfort, ligament issues? Okay, testosterone can do that too. Estrogen and progesterone, if those are off balance, that can lead to chronic inflammation and pain within joints and ligaments and muscles. So this has actually been proven. All right. So, and if your hormones are imbalanced in any way, guess what? You're going to have emotional swings. You can feel anger. You can feel anxiety. You can feel depression. Okay. You can have brain fog. You can have sleeping issues. You might have metabolic issues where, your metabolism is a little too hyper or too low. Maybe you can't gain weight. Maybe you can't lose weight. Maybe you're tired all the time. So, but there's also where our bodies can turn around and actually hold on to emotions. A psychologist actually once told me that the body never forgets, that the body can actually hold on to emotions. Okay. I actually, as goofy as it sounds, I actually experienced this myself. So I had left hip pain. Now, I thought it was just because, now, granted, I shattered my right leg. At least we don't just do things once and, we're going to do this multiple times. And if you're going to I've been told, if you're going to do something, do it really well. So I shattered my leg twice and I did it really well, both times. Okay. So needless to say, my right leg, I don't walk exactly normal because I shattered it a couple times because we can't just do it once. And so that threw off my left hip, and that kind of throws off my left hip. So I thought my left hip pain was strictly because I was walking goofy. So I meditate a lot. And so I've been increasing my meditation and the length of the meditation. And I don't move. I try not to move. Most of us like try to run away from things or trying, like, if a situation gets uncomfortable, we don't like to sit with uncomfortable things. We have to do something about it, right? Or we have to keep ourselves busy so we don't think about things. Instead of just letting the emotions be or letting the situation be, it's too uncomfortable for us. So, one of my mentors said, no, I want you to sit with things and don't move your body, sit with it. So I've been sitting for 30 minutes, not moving a muscle. And all of a sudden, like, I've been doing this for a while, and all of a sudden, like, I during this period, I started getting my hip pain started increasing. And all of a sudden, like, I had this pain, like, and it was more than normal. And then all of a sudden I started feeling anger, like, while I was meditating, like, all of a sudden, and, like, I wanted to get up and punch the wall. Like, I've never experienced anger so much. Like, I literally wanted to get up and punch the wall. And I'm like, no, you're supposed to sit with this. Like, don't move, don't move, don't move, sit with it, and all of a sudden, like, I just started angrily crying. And as soon as angrily cried and like it just like sobs came out. Did you know that the moment that I did that, my left hip pain went away? And then I remembered the counselor, the psychologist once telling me that the body never forgets, that the body can hold on to emotional trauma. Okay. In Chinese medicine, okay, there are certain organs that are so, and I want to read this to you. There are certain, so emotions and organs can play hand in hand. So, if, for instance, if you have liver dysfunction, so if your liver is not functioning as well as it could be, you may experience things like anger. Okay. So, or if you have a lot of anger, if you get very, very angry for like a prolonged period of time, that can actually lead to organ dysfunction and liver dysfunction. Anger can also lead to things like headaches, dizziness, high blood pressure, and stroke. Fear is actually associated with the kidneys. So if you have kidney dysfunction, that can lead to excess fear. So you might be a worrier all the time, right? And that can actually be an imbalance in your kidneys. Or if you have a very fearful situation, that fear can actually throw off your kidneys. So it can be, one way or the other. Fear can also, in Chinese medicine, has been led to kidney stones and involuntary urination. So, the heart, okay? So, if you feel like you've been jilted or you have a problem, receiving or giving love, or you talk really bad to yourself or have these negative emotions about yourselves, or you can have problems with your heart, blood pressure, heart rate, rhythm, things like that. Okay. Um, Sadness and grief, usually associated with the lungs. So a lot of like sinus issues, or lung issues. And it doesn't have to be just like the loss of like, in death per se, but maybe it's like a loss in a relationship. You broke up with your best friend, or you broke up with a boyfriend, or you got a divorce, or maybe you changed jobs. And it was a job that you really liked because not only did you like the job, but maybe you had a whole bunch of friends or, coworkers, and yes, and or you had to move or something like that. So some sort of loss in your life or some sort of grief can actually lead to sinus issues and lung issues. Okay. So worrying, over excessive worrier, can wind up being associated with the spleen, which has a lot to do with your immune system too. And it can lead to fatigue, lethargy, and inability to concentrate. So these are just some of the emotions. The reason why I bring this up is because one of the things, and I love all of my patients dearly, but sometimes handling emotional issues or doing certain things, to address these can be uncomfortable. And sometimes what I see in practice is I can give you all of the supplements in the world to get rid of toxins and parasites and things like that. But if you're not addressing these underlying emotional imbalances from either a traumatic experience, because sometimes, again, sometimes this is very, very hard to deal with. And I'm not saying it's easy at all. Um, but if you don't handle this, no matter what supplements I give you, that might not necessarily handle your symptoms completely, because we also, so healing is like a couple different parts. It's handling the mind, okay, how we think. If you always think that you're not going to get better, guess what? I could give you the healing elixir of Egypt and you're not going to get better. If you're constantly saying, well, nothing's going to help me, nothing's going to help me, guess what? Nothing is going to help you. Okay? So our mind has to be healed. Okay? Then we have the emotional balance. So our emotions have to be balanced. And then we have the physical balance. So there's three parts to healing. It's not just handling the physical. Now, yes, there are certain supplements to support emotions. And yes, we can absolutely do that. But my goal, if we're doing that, then we're kind of just giving you a band-aid, right? Because you're not dealing with the emotions. We're giving you supplements to support your emotions, but we're not dealing the underlying cause. Now, if your emotions are off balance because your hormones are off balance or because you have parasites causing, some issues, well, then that's a different story, right? So then there's an underlying cause of why you have an emotional unbalance. And maybe it's multiple things. Maybe it's parasites, toxins that are affecting your hormones, or maybe an endocrine gland that's feeding into the anxiety, into the worrying, into the depression, or whatever, on top of holding on to some sort of hidden emotion that we just haven't processed yet, right? Or something that we haven't let go of. And so there can be multiple layers to this, and it gets tricky. So, but the reason why I want to bring this up is because I've gone through this several times myself. And actually there's certain things that I'm like working on myself with, you know, and it's like an ongoing process. Um, but I've noticed by digging deep and handling not the fun stuff, my health has improved. I physically feel better. I energetically feel better. Like I have more energy. I feel more emotionally stable. I don't feel like I'm handling flying off. My gut feels better. My chronic pain and inflammation feels better. And I know that some of my patients, they've experienced that too, just by handling, their emotional stress. One of my patients is going through a very tough time right now. There's like a lot of outside factors that are affecting this person and this patient is having um, some gut issues and some chronic inflammation. And she's doing other things like meditation. She's doing what I'm asking her to do. She's actually seeing the mentor that I'm seeing, which is fantastic. And I applaud her, this patient, so much. Um, but has some muscle pain, and I'm having her put on a supplement that helps with emotions, like topically. And just by doing that, her inflammation within her muscles are actually improving just by doing that. So again, sometimes we can actually hold on to emotions and our bodies can manifest that. And there's just like a lot in, and so with this patient, yes, there's hormonal imbalances, but there's also a lot of outside stress factors going on with this patient too, and it's just really taking a toll on this patient. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, so what are you guys doing for yourselves on a daily basis? What are you guys doing to reset yourself? Are you meditating? Are you doing some sort of physical exercise or activity to relieve some stress, relieve some tension? There's a runner, you hear about runner's highs, for a reason, because it's almost like an endorphin, which can relieve stress, cortisol levels. It can help with like dopamine and serotonin levels with exercise. There's plenty of things, regrounding. Okay, walking out in nature. Now it's a little bit harder to do because it's like freaking 4 degrees out, or below zero probably right now. But, under normal circumstances, there's like things that you can do for like grounding. So that would be standing outside barefoot, walking in the, in the dirt and the grass barefoot. But even in this cold weather, like even 2 minutes outside, really just like taking in nature and things like that, just for a couple minutes, just really kind of taking that in, you can rebalance yourself out pretty quickly. Salt caves are fantastic, another way to rebalance yourself out. So there are different ions within Himalayan or sea salt. Why do people feel better when they go to by the ocean? Because there's actually different ions that actually that are in the ocean, that are in the salt, that are by the ocean, that actually help to rebalance our own body, our own energetic field. Okay. And it helps to reground us. So you can kind of go to a salt cave. If you can find a salt cave, you can actually rebalance yourself out going to a salt cave and doing salt therapy. That's another great way, especially in this kind of weather, if it's really cold, depending on where you live. Um, you can find grounding mats. Um, I prefer to actually not just use a grounding mat, but like kind of do something more natural. Going out in nature or doing a salt cave or things like that. Um, but these can all help. Um, Body tapping is another great one to relieve emotional stress and tension within the body. And sometimes you actually might feel emotions coming up, especially if you start doing body tapping on certain areas that is holding on to emotions. When I was doing um, yoga and Tai Chi, we would do a lot of body tapping. And sometimes I would hit a spot and oh my gosh, I just started like crying hysterically. But do you know, I felt so good not holding on to those emotions anymore. And like there was like a weight almost being lifted off my shoulders. And I physically and mentally felt better after letting go of some of those things. And it was like, oh, I didn't even know I was like that area was bothering me. And it was like, oh my gosh, that pain was associated with, whatever. And after I released that, I felt better. So, and the reason why why I'm telling you guys this is because healing is, a multi-layer um, process. Yes, I can give you supplements and things like that, but quite honestly, when you manage your emotions, and I don't mean manage like, oh my God, I got to keep them in check, but when you're allowing things to pass through you instead of holding on to things, you actually don't need as much supplements as somebody else because you're not holding on to these things. You're letting them kind of pass through you. It's kind of like almost you know, um, like being the observer rather than getting caught up into your thoughts. So you have thoughts, right? You're not your thoughts. I don't know if that makes sense. So you have thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. So you have emotions, but you are not your emotions. And how you talk is very important. So you experience anger, but you're not anger itself. So you can say, I have anger, I'm experiencing anger. But if you actually say the word I am and anything after that is very, very powerful. So you're actually conditioning your body to actually turn into anger. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense at all. So, what you tell your body and what you constantly tell yourself, you actually can become that. Okay. So, you're turning yourself into that. So, you can say, I'm experiencing anger at this point or right now. But to say, I am anger, say that to yourself and feel the difference. Or, I am experiencing anxiety rather than I am anxious. Big, huge difference. And how we talk to ourselves matters. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up tonight because again, that's really important topic. And I see emotional stress come up in almost every single patient of mine and leading to a lot of organ dysfunctions or part of it's not everything. Again, there can be multifaceted. It's why people have their symptoms. So it can be from emotions, it can be from toxins, it can be from parasites, it can be from all three things. If we're only handling the toxins and the parasites and we're not handling the emotions, you're not going to get 100% better, if that makes sense. So, and in the office, we actually test for all of these things, not just toxins, not just parasites, not just Lyme disease, but we actually test for emotions too. Um, yoga, and I'm not talking about like the yoga that makes you look pretty and you just do it for fun or to whatever, but I'm talking about like yoga or meditation to really kind of reconnect with yourself. That's the kind of type of yoga, that's based in true Oriental principles. That's the kind of yoga that I'm talking about. And that can really, really help to rebalance yourself and really get in touch with yourself and then really learn how to let go of certain things. Um, I really recommend that to almost all of my patients. Um, and when you start doing things like that, again, you don't need as many supplements. You don't need as many supplements. I see that all the time with a lot of my patients. When they start doing things like that, and when they start, rebalancing themselves and they start getting in touch with themselves and learning how to let go of certain things, their supplements decrease. Um, and I just wanted to get on because if you feel like you're stuck, if you've done things like parasite cleanses and heavy metal cleanses and some of your symptoms you feel stuck, it may be an emotional thing. It may be an emotional component, and maybe something like that is being missed. So look into that. And if you would like help to figure that out, then give us a call. 708-554-6730. We still are having, and we have virtual and in-person appointments. I have patients across the country. So patients in Texas, I have patients in Florida, in Wisconsin, Michigan, just kind of all over the place in Iowa. Um, so if you would like some help trying to figure out what's going on with you, or if things are being missed, if you're still having chronic issues, and then give us a call. We're actually having a special this month for the consultation. So till the end of January, the consultation is 2 appointments. Both appointments are an hour each. So that's 2 appointments. Normally that's 250. This month you get it for 125. So for both appointments. And if you have an HSA or FSA account, that does pay for office visits and supplements. Or I mean, yeah, the HSA and FSA will pay for office visits and supplements. So if you have any other questions, or if you have any other comments, please don't forget to put it in the comment section. I will try to answer any questions that you may have. Some of this may resonate with you, some of it may not, and that's okay too. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. Have a good one. Thanks for joining me.